The airplane soared gracefully through the azure sky, the hum of its engines a steady companion to the passengers aboard. Among them was Dr. Elena Harper, a biologist on her way to a remote island for a research expedition. She peered out the window, captivated by the endless expanse of ocean below. Her excitement was palpable. This journey was a culmination of years of study and preparation. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered by a violent jolt. The aircraft lurched, sending a wave of panic through the cabin. Oxygen masks dropped from the overhead compartments as the plane trembled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've encountered severe turbulence. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts." The voice crackled over the intercom, barely masking the tension. Elena clutched her armrests, her heart pounding. The turbulence intensified, and within moments, it became evident this was more than just a rough patch of air. The plane's nose dipped sharply, and the world outside the window blurred into a chaotic swirl of blue and white. Passengers screamed as the aircraft plummeted. Elena's mind raced through a flurry of thoughts: family, friends, unfinished dreams. She tightened her grip, bracing for impact. A deafening roar filled her ears as the plane crashed into the ocean, shattering into pieces upon impact. The world went dark. Elena awoke to the sound of waves crashing and the taste of salt water in her mouth. Pain coursed through her body, but she forced herself to sit up. Wreckage from the plane was scattered across a desolate beach, the once pristine fuselage now a twisted heap of metal. She coughed, expelling water from her lungs, and assessed her surroundings. A handful of survivors emerged from the wreckage, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. Among them was a young boy clutching a stuffed bear, his eyes wide with fear. Elena's instincts kicked in, and she crawled over to him, offering what little comfort she could. "It's going to be okay," she whispered, more for her own reassurance than his. The survivors gathered what they could from the wreckage, forming a makeshift camp on the beach. Elena took charge, her scientific training providing a semblance of order amidst the chaos. They salvaged supplies, water bottles, first aid kits, and a few food rations, and set about tending to the injured. As night fell, the group huddled around a small fire, the flickering flames casting long shadows across their weary faces. The reality of their situation began to sink in. They were stranded, with no immediate hope of rescue. Elena took a deep breath, realizing the responsibility now resting on her shoulders. "We need to stay strong and work together," she addressed the group. "Our best chance of survival is to remain calm and make a plan. Tomorrow, we'll search for fresh water and try to find higher ground." The next morning, Elena and a few others ventured into the dense jungle that bordered the beach. The air was thick with humidity, and the canopy above allowed only slivers of sunlight to filter through. The jungle was alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves. They stumbled upon a freshwater stream, its crystal-clear water a welcome sight. Elena knelt down, cupping her hands to drink. The cool liquid was a balm to her parched throat. They filled their bottles and marked the location, knowing it would be vital for their survival. As they made their way back to the camp, Elena's mind raced with thoughts of how to keep the group safe and healthy. She knew they needed shelter, a steady food supply, and a way to signal for help. The days ahead would be grueling, but she was determined to lead them through this ordeal. Back at the camp, spirits lifted slightly with the news of the freshwater source. Elena gathered the group once more, laying out a plan for the coming days. "We'll build shelters, set up a signal fire, and create a schedule for gathering food and water. We have to stay focused and support each other." The survivors nodded, their fear giving way to a glimmer of hope. With determination etched on their faces, they set to work, driven by the instinct to survive and the unyielding human spirit. The sun rose on the third day of their ordeal, casting a golden glow over the camp. The survivors, though weary, had established a semblance of routine. They had built rudimentary shelters using branches and leaves, and the signal fire was kept burning at all times. The group had begun to coalesce, each person finding their role in the effort to stay alive. Elena woke early, her mind already focused on the tasks ahead. She checked on the injured, ensuring their wounds were clean and dressed. The young boy, Ethan, had stayed close to her since the crash. She smiled at him, trying to infuse some warmth into the bleak situation. "Ready for an adventure today?" she asked, ruffling his hair. He nodded, clutching his stuffed bear tightly. "Are we going to find more food?" "Yes, we are," Elena replied. "We need to keep our strength up." A small group, including Elena, set out into the jungle once more. They ventured further this time, hoping to find fruits or edible plants. The dense foliage made progress slow, but they moved with determination, driven by necessity. After a few hours of trekking, they stumbled upon a grove of banana trees. The sight of the ripe fruit hanging from the branches brought a surge of relief. They quickly harvested as much as they could carry, filling their makeshift baskets. As they prepared to return to camp, Elena noticed something unusual. A faint trail, almost hidden by the undergrowth, led deeper into the jungle. Curiosity piqued, she decided to follow it, signaling for the others to wait. The trail wound through the dense vegetation, leading to a small clearing. In the center stood the remnants of an old, abandoned structure. Vines and moss had overtaken the wooden beams, but it was clear this had once been a shelter. Elena's heart raced at the discovery. This could be a game-changer for their survival. She hurried back to the group, excitement evident in her voice. "Come with me. I found something." They followed her back to the clearing, their eyes widening at the sight. The structure, though weathered by time, was still sturdy. They began to clear the area, removing debris and overgrowth. The shelter would provide much-needed protection from the elements, and a safer place to sleep. By the time they returned to camp with their findings, spirits were high. The discovery of the bananas and the shelter had given them a renewed sense of hope. The group worked together to transport supplies and begin reinforcing the old structure. As the sun set, they gathered around the fire, sharing stories and laughter for the first time since the crash. The sense of camaraderie was palpable, a testament to their resilience and determination. Elena sat with Ethan by her side, feeling a deep sense of responsibility for the group. She knew the journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time, she felt they had a fighting chance. The discovery of the shelter marked a turning point, a beacon of hope in their struggle for survival. "We can do this," she thought to herself, gazing into the flickering flames. "We will survive." The days stretched into weeks, each one bringing new challenges and small victories. The group worked tirelessly to improve their shelter, gather food, and maintain their signal fire. Their hope for rescue remained strong, fueled by the bonds they had formed and the collective will to endure. Elena's leadership had become a cornerstone of their survival. Her knowledge and determination inspired the others, giving them the strength to push forward. The jungle that once seemed so hostile had become a source of sustenance and discovery. One evening, as they sat around the fire, a distant rumble broke the quiet of the night. The sound grew louder, and soon the unmistakable sight of a rescue helicopter appeared on the horizon. Cheers erupted from the group as they rushed to the signal fire, feeding it with more wood to create a towering flame. The helicopter circled overhead before descending onto the beach. Relief and joy washed over the survivors as rescue personnel emerged, offering blankets and supplies. Tears streamed down their faces as they embraced one another, the ordeal finally coming to an end. Elena stood back, watching the scene unfold. A mixture of exhaustion and elation filled her heart. She had led them through the darkest days, and now they were going home. As the helicopter lifted off, carrying them away from the island, Elena looked down at the place that had tested their limits and brought them together. "Wings of survival," she whispered, knowing they had truly earned their freedom.